Good morning and welcome to Daily Focus. I'm glad that you've joined me this morning back in my office, back in the great state of Michigan. And I look forward to sharing with you the nuggets of truth, the fuel that God has for us to help us in our life today. We're going to be back in Proverbs chapter 18. Proverbs chapter 18, we'll start reading in verse number 7. A fool's mouth is his destruction, and his lips are the snare of his soul. The words of a talebearer are as wounds, and they go down into the innermost part of the belly. He also that is slothful in his work is brother to him that is a great waster. The name of the Lord is a strong tower. The righteous runneth into it and is safe. The rich man's wealth is his strong city, and as a high wall in his own conceit. Before destruction, the heart of man is haughty, and before honor is humility. Verse number 12 is a verse that I think all of us should memorize. It's a verse that certainly helps us to understand how God works. I mean, we've referenced James chapter 4 a few times as we navigated our way through the book of James before coming to Proverbs. And James chapter 4 deals with God resisteth the proud, but he gives grace unto the humble. We all need grace, and there's only one way to get it, and it is the path of humility. In other words, letting God be God and having a right view of him and having a right view of ourselves is the way to get grace. And so here, verse number 12 says it a little different, and it says basically, before destruction, the heart of man is haughty. In other words, if you want to know why it is that you are in the midst of consequences, then you can mark it down. There is pride somewhere. There is an arrogant spirit. There is a self-centered approach to whatever it is, and it has brought about a degree of consequence. And if you continue, it'll actually completely destroy you. Sometimes as people are going down the path of consequence, they sometimes feel like it can't get any worse than this. And I oftentimes will remind them, oh yes, it can. The devil will see to it, because whatever you're experiencing right now, if you're still breathing and you're still functioning, the devil is not done, because he is a lion that walketh about seeking whom he may devour. That word devour is the idea that it's a picture of the lion, which is a great picture because lions devour an animal. In other words, they don't eat the meat off the bones and leave the carcass and the bones to rot. Lions eat everything. They eat the hide, they eat the hair, they eat the hooves, they eat the tail, they eat everything, and they devour an animal. And that's exactly what God says the devil is like. And he's not happy until we are devoured. We're completely destroyed. And so, if we really think that the consequence is the end, it's not going to get any worse. If you're still breathing and functioning, I promise you it can get worse, and it will if you stay on that path. However, he says before honor is humility. If you want to know why God is blessing, if you want to know why you're experiencing God's honor in your life, you can mark it down to a proper approach to life, letting God be God and having a right view of yourself. There is a humbleness that is allowing God to impart his grace and to bless your life. And so it's a real encouragement in the battle against the devil and the battle against our world, the battle against our flesh, that we have God who has promised grace in the midst of the battle and has already given us victory if we'll just claim it. And so we really run to verse number 10 as he has mentioned a few things that basically are the road to destruction. He mentions these things are the path of a haughty spirit, and he says there in verse 7 that a fool's mouth is his destruction, his lips are the very snare of his soul. A fool, even when he opens his mouth, it just encompasses a view of haughty view of self. And it's degrading to others, it's degrading to God, it's promoting of self and all of that. And God says, when he opens his mouth, he proves he's on the path to destruction. And then he also talks about our work ethic, and he says the slothful person is brother to a great waster. Have you ever been around somebody that's just totally unproductive because they just waste time? And that wasting of time is brother to a lazy or a slothful person. And God is saying, when we're lazy, we're just thinking of what we want. We're only doing what we want. We're not interested in what God has put before us. We're not interested in doing things God's way. We're all consumed with self. And these are elements of it. And these are paths to destruction. And the devil is going to have a heyday when people are on those paths. But verse number 10 says, the name of the Lord is a strong tower. The righteous runneth into it and is safe. He says that, verse number 11, the rich man's wealth is his strong city. In other words, a rich man thinks that his wealth can protect him. He thinks his wealth is the ticket to life. And he continues to say, and the righteous run to God, whereas the rich tend to run to their money. And they think that it's this wall of protection about them. Well, I think that 1929 proved that things can end overnight as it relates to our wealth. I think that even what we went through with COVID-19 proves that God's in control and can change your economic situation overnight. And it's foolish for a person to run to their wealth. God says a righteous person, a person who wants to be on the path of wisdom, runs to God. In other words, we have a strong tower. We have true strength. We have true protection. We have true provision. And it comes from God. And when we're on the path of wisdom, walking in humility, letting God direct our steps, simply a servant who looks to God to get his marching orders and to accomplish in today what God gave me today to do as a good steward, using that which has been entrusted to me the way God wanted me to use it when he gave it to me, so that he can be glorified in my life and his purposes can be accomplished with my efforts as I yield them to him and submit my will to his, that I can see God's purposes accomplished each and every day. What a great place for people to live. What a safe place for us to dwell. What an incredible, secure place when I simply want what God wants. I simply do what God has commanded, and I find rest in his providential plan. And so the name of the Lord is a strong tower. All of what is true about God is represented in his names, and I have access to it as his child as I walk in humility down the path of wisdom. Would you join me in doing that today? Would we strive to stay off the paths that lead to destruction and make sure we stay on the path of wisdom? I look forward to seeing you tomorrow morning. May God bless you.